The following content is copyrighted to Hasbro United Broadcasting, and as such, we own no rights to it whatsoever, nor do we claim such rights.
This whole production is purely for entertainment, not for redistribution or any personal gain.
My little pony, my little pony. Ah, my little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. My little pony. Until you all shared its magic with me. Big adventure, tons of fun. A beautiful heart, faithful and strong. Sharing kindness, it's an easy feat. And magic makes it all complete. You have mine. Did you know you are my very best friends?
Hello there, I'm Martin,
I'm Steven.
and this is episode 1 of season 1 of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, Elements of Harmony, part 1. That's right, this is going to be a two-parter, and as such, there is one minor rule, and that is we will not do an actual review until we have done the second video of this containing part 2. Until then,
You're just going to hear our quips, comments, and maybe a few jokes along the way.
now this was an interesting and very important pilot episode. They say that a series is only as good as the first episode. That's why they call it the pilot.
Although to be honest, this is hardly so much a pilot as a reimagining of a already existing toy line as well as TV series.
As everyone knows, there were 3 generations of My Little Pony prior to this. This is the first one that was actually good. As such, well, that's why there are so many guys who like the show now as well as girls. All the girls love the first 3 generations, but now here with the 4th generation, guys are starting to like it too. Thus it's a more open market.
Especially considering that it is not the silly frou-frou thing that was so common with girl-based cartoons and series.
And very well animated, despite it being flash animation too.
Very much so.
And so here we have the very first episode.
This young unicorn is known as Twilight Sparkle, a very bookish girl with a well, it's not an antisocial personality, but she focuses more on her academics than others.
Sorry, girls. I got a lot of studying to catch up on.
Does that pony do anything except study?
I think she's more interested in books than friends.
Fun fact, Twilight Sparkle is actually voiced by Tara Strong. She's actually done a lot of other voices in various mediums from both video games and everything else. In fact, it's kind of become an in-joke on YouTubers who kind of notice her voices throughout everywhere. You know, we'll get into why later, but let's just say her voice is just that recognizable. We also get introduced to Spike, who is Twilight's personal assistant, and a baby dragon, you'll notice. He's something of an emotional progression throughout the series, both for himself and for the main 6.
Kind of like Twilight Sparkle's kid brother.
Which is very apt when you consider that she's the one who hatched him. More on that later.
The main premise of this episode is how Twilight gets to Ponyville, which, in the process of her arduous studies in her hometown of Canterlot, she stumbles across an ancient legend pertaining to a rather doomsday prophecy, which she immediately warns their leader as well as her teacher, Celestia.
And how does Celestia react to this?
My dearest, most faithful student, Twilight, you know that I value your diligence and that I trust you completely. But you simply must stop reading those dusty old books.
Her face is priceless! You just see the look on her face.
Big bullseyes, I swear.
You know, it's just... The whole premise of it is Twilight's an acolyte, and the fact that her teacher is saying this to her, she basically feels like she's being brushed aside. And
to the point of being ignored.
And to make matters worse, for Twilight at least, she's being sent to Ponyville not only to look after the Summer Sun celebration, but with a small little request from Celestia to try and make some friends. However, as we've seen, Twilight isn't much for friends.
She's not antisocial, but she prefers her studies and books over interactions with actual people. Or ponies, in her case.
However, while in Ponyville, she comes across 5 interesting characters who, ironically enough, later do become her friends. But for now, they're just ponies who seem to irritate her. We have the spastic Pinkie Pie, Little Miss Rarity, the very athletic Rainbow Dash, the Southern Belle, Applejack, and meek little Fluttershy. And, well, trust me when I say we're going to be getting to each of these one by one as we go through this.
Sweet Apple Acres. A very rustic farmland of apple trees and, well, everything else that's apples. Including Applejack, the lead farmhand of the Applejack family. Yeah. Applejack is a very friendly sort, if not overly. She's a family girl. And it is a very extensive family at that. Won't get into names, but if you look up every apple-based dish you can think of, then you've pretty much covered it.
Not to mention that they have family going all the way from Ponyville to Manhattan.
Now, that's a long distance.
And trust me when I say we'll get into various Apple family relations in future episodes, many of which may surprise you. But of course, well, if you want a good idea about how big her family is, well...
This here's apple fritter, apple bumpkin, red gallop, red delicious, golden delicious, caramel apple, apple strudel, apple tart, baked apples, apple brioche, apple cinnamon crisp, big Macintosh, apple bloom, and Granny Smith.
That's a lot of apples! And I think my absolute favorite is Apple Bloom. Why, you may ask?
Aren't you gonna stay for brunch?
How can you say no to that face? It burns! That's one way. Okay, but moving on. After Twilight gets back from Sweet Apple Acres with a belly full of pie, she runs into the next character we have on our roster, and boy, is she an athletic one. The highly egotistical Rainbow Dash.
Excuse me?
Our first Pegasus, Rainbow has some control over the weather, which she tries to use to help Twilight with her little mishap after causing her to crash into the mud. Although the results can be seen as kind of, well, for lack of a better term, mixed, as we see here in a second. Just watch, it's fun.
Quite welcome.
We also learned that Rainbow is actually trying to get into a team known as the Wonderbolts, the greatest flowers in all of Equestria. And well, she certainly got the talent for it.
Although she also has this rather I'm not going to say sordid past, but she does have this one nickname that is probably a main reason why she gets turned down a lot. Rainbow Crash.
We'll get into how she got that later. Anyway, after Twilight does a nice little bit of reverse psychology to get Rainbow to clear the sky in 10 seconds flat, we actually come across the next little character in our roster, Rarity.
No, no, no. Oh, yes! Sparkle always does the trick, does it not?
Why, Rarity, you are a talent.
Now, this one is quite the fashionista. She, and as well, Spike has gone head over scales for her.
I kind of compare it to a student falling in love with his teacher, but, you know.
Although I don't really see that.
I do. So yeah, basically once Rarity hears that Twilight is from Canterlot, she goes nuts, because, well, living in Canterlot is like her dream.
What?
And once again, Rarity suggests that they could be good friends, which causes Twilight to run for the door as soon as her back is turned. But that leads us yet again into the fourth of the main six, and one who happens to be a personal favorite of Steve's, actually.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
So yeah, next up is Fluttershy. Needless to say, she's aptly named. But very good with animals, as it turns out. In fact, the first time we see her, she's basically coaching a songbird choir, which is actually doing pretty well, save for one out-of-tune blue jay.
And her list of animals to communicate with is also quite extensive, just like the Applejack family.
It even extends to some fantastic creatures, as we'll see later on. But she gets kind of shy around other ponies, especially Twilight, until, well, she notices Spike. And seeing a baby dragon for the first time, let's just say she gets a little more open, and basically follows Twilight and Spike to their home at the library. And when they get inside...
Surprise! Hi, I'm Pinkie Pie, and I threw this party just for you. Were you surprised? Were you?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce the Avatar of Chaos and Ponyville's biggest motor mouth, Pinkie Pie,
who also happens to be great with parties.
and will do anything to have any excuse to throw one.
And we mean any excuse. She will take any occasion and turn it into a celebration.
Even if it's less than welcomed.
Now, with all these new characters being introduced, somehow the prophecy of Nightmare Moon was probably still in the back of your mind. I mean, when are we going to get to it, right? So far, all we're doing is, what? Oh my god!
Wait. Is it all clear yet?
Yeah, with the French toast.
Well, that's the Nightmare Moon for you.
Yeah, and, well, actually, let's get our chairs back in here. Holy crap. Well, exciting. Yeah, Nightmare Moon's back, and Celestia is nowhere to be found. Dang it. Well, yeah, but as intimidating as Nightmare Moon was, we find out that she's really rather generic, because essentially, her plan is to, well, take over the world.
Of course!
Although in her case, generic is a good thing because she plays so brief a role in the entire series.
Yeah. So yeah, as you just saw, this is a two-parter. We got the to be continued. So we're gonna have to pick this up next time. But until then, we're not gonna do our final thoughts on it. So stay tuned. Part 2's coming up.
Yep.
Peace.
Bye.